I think a good follow-up question for that I just got. To Hillary, you said you saw some things while in the Peace Corps that made you think that things weren't right, that helped lead you to your belief as an atheist. Can you elaborate a little more on these and why you thought these events weren't right?
Sure. I hope I don't go too long on this. I'm going to try and hold myself down. One of the biggest problems in Africa is the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Many Christian churches have, to be quite honest with you, spread misinformation about the disease. And I'm sorry if some don't like talking about condoms, but they've said condoms cause AIDS. Condoms have AIDS in them. Jesus hates condoms, which, I mean, some may believe that, but the information wasn't presented properly. I've heard stories of people, of men saying to women, well, Jesus hates condoms, so we can't use one. You know, and that misinformation has actually caused to a spread of the disease. And I always felt, as I was still a Christian at the time, that withholding life-saving information, such as the proper use of condoms, and that they need to be used correctly and consistently every time, I always thought that was a sin. Much worse than the possibility of saying you're condoning premarital or extramarital sex, because honestly, those are people's lives. People are dying, they're widows and orphans, because people don't have this life-saving information.
There was actually a follow-up on that card that I put somewhere. Here it is. Pastor Jay, how would you look at these events?
The one she mentioned?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure.
So these events that she just described help to solidify her beliefs, and from a Christian standpoint, why?
Can I go back real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
They didn't solidify my beliefs. I was still a Christian at the time, and they didn't really it made me question organized religion. It was just my kind of first step.
That's fair. Suffering is a huge problem for an atheist or a Christian. I mean, it is a huge problem. So I'm not going to address it per se. Let me say this. Having traveled a little bit in India and Africa, when I do see benevolence being done, I see it being done best by the church. I would resonate with Hillary that whoever gave that advice about condoms, that's just wacky, and I would never offer that. So I'm sorry somebody told you that. I was just in Uganda a couple months ago, and AIDS epidemic there is still a disaster. They're also fearing cholera outbreak there, just like going on in Haiti at the moment. Everywhere I go, when I see benevolence being done well, almost only when I just see it being done, period, is being done by the Church of Christ. Whether it's Roman Catholic, whether it's Protestant, whether it's Orthodox, the church gets benevolence. Islam does not. Buddhism does not. Hinduism definitely does not. I'll never forget, in Agra, riding alongside the road, we were riding along the road and seeing all these homeless people in ditches. And we had a Hindu in a car with us who was our tour guide. And so I just said, hey, what's India's, we were up in Agra by the Taj Mahal. I said, what's India's approach to helping people like this? And I'll never forget his answer. And it made sense logically coming out of his worldview. He said, we don't care about that. We don't care if they die, that they deserve to be in the ditch in the sewage. And, I was a little shocked. I said, I knew kind of where he's coming from because I studied comparative religion, but I said, okay, why? He said, because of our view about reincarnation. You sow what you reap from previous lives, He said, obviously, the previous life, they did something horrible. They're in the ditch, they're in the sewage because they belong there. In fact, if we help them, we're shortchanging their karma, and we're undermining the whole process, so we shouldn't help them. They need to just die and suffer in the ditch. And it was just another reminder to me, wow, ideas have consequences. Huge consequences. Now, he was being very consistent with Hinduism. I compliment him for that. But as a Christian, holding an extremely different worldview, I believe we are to help those in suffering. Jesus came to this planet in the midst of suffering. And when I see benevolence done best, it is always being done by the church. And it's just Uganda, wherever it's at, India, the church is constantly there. They're the ones doing the hospitals. They're the ones doing the orphanages. They're the ones doing the medical clinics. And it's because it's driven by a gospel agenda. Worldviews have consequences. A little long, but...
All right. Changing gears a little bit, Hillary, I've got a bunch of questions on some of what kinds of, have you read the Bible? Have you read other sacred texts from other religions? Have you read C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity?
Tim Keller.
I was about to say, I just read Keller's book, The Reason for God, and by the time you finish that book, you might as well have read C.S. Lewis, how extensively he quoted him. Like I said, I went to Catholic school for 6 years, and I went to Mass 3 times a week, and I went to church every Sunday. So I have read the entire New Testament on my own, like sequentially, but I've heard the Old Testament and everything else read piecemeal in church. So yeah, I've read that. I have not read the Quran. It sounds very... The excerpts I've read seem very tedious. I hate to say it. I'm not particularly interested in reading that. I hate to say that, but... So I have not read C.S. Lewis, but I did recently read The Reason for God by Keller, which... Interesting, however, I did disagree with a lot of things he said, but of course I would, right?
Pastor Jay, what caused you to believe in Jesus as the only way to God?
What causes me to believe in Jesus is the only way to God? Because Jesus said he's the only way to God. And when I look at him and I look at the evidence of his life and his resurrection and the historical credibility of the gospel accounts, I believe him. And what's interesting to me is it's very hard to find anyone who will fault Christ in his character. And if you really believe, whatever your worldview, if you believe he was sane and that he was a man of integrity, and almost everybody says that, maybe except Dawkins, but just about everyone else will say that. Atheists, agnostics, it doesn't matter. Hindus, almost everyone says they respect his character and his, mental integrity. Then you have to make a decision with his claims. And he made some very extreme claims. And he does demand decision. He was emphatic that he's God in human flesh. Normal people don't walk around saying things like that. He said he would judge all mankind. He said that he would rise from the dead. He said that he would return to planet Earth. And he said he was the Messiah. You have to make a decision. You can't sit on the fence on those claims. Those are extreme claims. And when I look at the evidence of his life, the credibility of the New Testament Gospels and the documents of the New Testament, and the manuscript authority and the evidence, they all point that Jesus was legitimate. He said what he meant, and he was sane, and he was coherent, and he wasn't a lunatic. So, I believe him when he says, I am the only way to Father. That's as short as I can say it.
Okay, a little bit different direction here. Question for both. Do you celebrate Halloween? Why and why not? Do you celebrate Christmas? Why and why not? Go ahead, Hillary.
Yes and yes. I love holidays. I love every excuse to have a party, every excuse to put on a costume, every excuse to decorate my house, to get together with friends. I love Halloween, and because for those of you out there who know me, I love to make elaborate costumes that are just ridiculous. And theme parties, but I can never seem to get everybody to dress up for theme parties. Christmas, I absolutely love Christmas. There's a huge secular part of Christmas, and it's just fun.
Pastor Jay, do you celebrate Christmas?
Yeah. Yeah, we celebrate Christmas at our house. And Halloween, I grew up celebrating Halloween. I don't know, celebrating it. I grew up making haunted houses with our youth group, and probably stuff that would make some cringe, but I mean, we did, the hangings and the beheadings and all kinds of stuff. Sorry. That was our youth group. I just went along with it. I liked it. I liked the rules, and I understand that, the strong feelings with it. Anymore, I'll tell you what we do on Halloween, we hide. We literally turn off our lights and hide in the basement and watch a movie because I don't want to be at the door handing out tons of candy. So no, I don't celebrate Halloween anymore.
All right. Hillary, a couple of questions here. I'll try to phrase them together. To become an atheist, do you have to consciously denounce God, Christ, salvation? And are there any ground rules for being an atheist?
I don't feel like I have to constantly denounce anything. I mean, no. The atheism is, by definition, just lack of belief. That's all it means. This is why it's not actually a religion, because it's not like you become an atheist and then you get the book of all of our rules and the things that we believe. We don't have it. We don't have it. You can't even actually organize atheists very easily. It's been likened to herding cats because you have these people who they don't believe in God. That's the only thing. It's like saying people who like to wear sweatpants unite. I mean, maybe they actually might have more in common, but some of them are conservatives or fiscal conservatives, some are fiscal liberals, some, think that we should try and get rid of all religion. Others say, I don't care, just leave me alone. So I don't feel like you have to do anything every day. If religion weren't in front of me every single day, if I didn't go past churches, if I didn't read about controversy in the news, I wouldn't think about it ever.